Hi, it's Laura with Following the Paper Trail, and it's the 11th day of Christmas. See, I did do it with my hands. So, running a couple days late, got some stuff going on, family stuff going on, and it's the holidays. I'm frantically trying to finish my Christmas shopping, but I wanted to show you these projects, these last couple of projects. This is 11. I'll get 12 up tomorrow, hopefully. And what this one is adding some flowers to your candles for a holiday table decor. And what these are is very similar to the glass flowers that I've showed you months ago now, using UD, dipping the flowers in UD using your melting pot. This one I'm using beeswax that is actually done by Ranger to be used specifically in the melting pot. So it's designed to be melted in the melting pot. Whether or not you can melt it other ways, I'm not sure, but you can check into that. But what I've done is, in the same way that I dip the paper flowers in to the UD, I've dipped them into the beeswax. And so then I've added them. I've been able to kind of melt them right onto just a plain white candle that I got at the craft store. So these are actually attached right to the candle. One thing to be aware of, if you're planning to burn the candles, you want to be really careful because it's still paper. It's encased in wax, but it is still paper and it will still burn. So you want to be real careful about how you're burning your candles when this is applied to it. But doesn't that just make so pretty? Here, that's the middle-sized one. Here's the smaller one with the same thing added. And what you're going to need for this is, I use one of the EK Success punches, one of my very favorite punches. It's got 6 petals to it. There's a large size. There's the medium size. And the large one's about 2.5 to 3 inches. The small one's about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches. And then the little one's about a 1 inch. So and so you need 2 of the medium size. I'm going to dip this one to show you how it works with the dipping. I then use some these are actually mulberry paper leaves. I think they're Prima leaves. I just had them loose in my stash of goodies. But they're holly leaves. And then I've dipped these. So I've got one more of these. In fact, I'll go ahead and show you. Here I've got my beeswax melted to the temperature that it talks about. Now, I have one of the extra trays in my melting pot. And I have found using that tray, because it gives a little bit of separation up from the actual heating tray inside, you got to go a little bit higher temperature, but you really need to pay attention to it, because especially with wax, you don't want to overheat wax. Wax can catch on fire if you overheat it. Typically with wax, you can do it on a double boiler on the stovetop, and some waxes allow you to melt them in the microwave. I did try this method with some soy wax. Didn't like how the feel of it. It was a little too sticky on my flowers and leaves. But you might try other kinds of candle type waxes. But again, always follow the directions, the manufacturer's directions on how to heat it up, because you don't want to have a fire hazard, especially right before Christmas. So I've got it all melted, and then I'm just going to drop my holly leaf in there. Whatever you put in there, it is going to get darker, so just be aware of that. Your colors are not going to stay exactly true, because they will get darker because it's going into the wax. I then use my tweezers and let it drip as much of the excess wax. If you have too much wax on there, it gets kind of milky, creamy color. One of the things that I have found to do is, as it's cooling, I take my heat it tool and I just heat it right over my melting pot, and then I can get the excess to drip off. Even after it's cooled down, you can kind of see where the excess is, and then I can get the excess to drip off by doing this, and then I don't get them quite as milky. Especially the leaves. The leaves seem to really soak up a lot of excess wax, and so by doing this, it just really, of course, then I drop it right into it. That wasn't terribly swift, so. But just heat it up and just let it drip the excess off. Then you're going to just set it on your, well, after I stop dropping it, that is. Alright, let's try this drip. It's a good thing I got 15 minutes. Okay, let me just drip the excess that I just dipped it back in on. And then I'm going to set it on my non-stick craft sheet over here and let it cool down for a minute. While that one cools, I'm going to go ahead and put, now with my flower shapes, I've already shaped them a little bit, just curling them around like a pen or a pencil and giving them a little bit of shape before I dip them. Again, then just let the excess drip off. This one, it looks like I'm going to want to heat it off because you can kind of get a feel for it after a while how much excess is on there. And I just found this heating it right over it and dripping it off has been working really well to get the excess. And these actually cool very quickly. So then I can set my melting pot a little more off to the side. Slide it out of the way so I don't cook myself. Then what I can do is I can take my layers of my flowers. So, oh, that's the top one. The one that I just did is still a little bit wet. One of the beauties is if you have some of these little boo-boos on the back, you can just take your thumbnail and scrape off the excess. And then I'm just going to layer this on top of the other. On my little craft sheet. Heat it up. It heats up very quickly. I'm kind of off camera. All right. Let's slide it up. Heat it up a little bit till they're both a little bit melted. And then I can take my pokey tool, as I like to call it. Kind of squish them together a little bit while they're cooling. Kind of hooks the layers together. It also takes away any boo-boos and blemishes. I heat it up again a little bit. Put the next layer on. And that kind of just melds all those layers together. And as it cools, as I say, it cools pretty quickly. So you can see my layers for my poinsettia are hooked together. I'm going to put my last layer, my little yellow center, on last. Now I've got my white candle. Probably shouldn't use the biggest, heaviest one for this. And maybe there might be some little boo-boo. There's like, here's kind of some blemishes here. So what I'm going to just do is I'm going to heat up there and just soften the candle a little bit. Just to soften that wax. You don't want to melt it per se. Just get it soft. Once it gets a little bit shiny, you know it's starting to get soft. And what I do first, roll it around a little bit. You just find that everything sticks together, but you don't want to melt it too much. So then I'm going to take and throw one of my holly leaves on the floor. And then I can just kind of press them into that soft wax slightly. And then I'm going to heat them up. Let me pick this one up that I dropped first. Okay, so then I'm going to heat those up a little bit. Kind of melt them on. So then I can take my pokey thing so I don't get wax all over myself. Gotta make sure they're stuck down. Then that last one, I'm going to take it. And that beeswax has a little bit of tackiness to it, so you can kind of just stick it down slightly. And melt him on. And I would totally let this cool. If I were not doing this on a short YouTube video, I would let this completely cool down before I put the flower on. But I'm going to go ahead and try sticking it down. And that way if I had let those cool, those wouldn't have moved around. So I'm just going to kind of stick that down, give it a shot of some heat. I also kind of point it up underneath a little bit too. It just melts down. If you live in a cold climate, you could go run it outside. That's what I miss about not living in Alaska anymore. We always had like parties and stuff, had a natural refrigerator, just put things outside. Okay, now that that's heated up, whoops, I can just And it doesn't seem like it's stuck down because it'll move, but you let it cool for a few minutes. I've just got the dropsies today, obviously. And that's how easy that is. Now, I also have, what I did is I used some wire ribbon. Whoops. Let me set this guy down. Hopefully he won't roll away. I took some wired ribbon and I pre-tied it around the candles when they still were wrapped in the plastic cellophane, because it's easier to put it on there, tie it, and slide it off. So now what I can do is I have it all pre-tied, somewhat shaped. But once this is cooled down, then I can just slip my ribbon on in and around my flowers and just have it around the bottom of my candle to add to the decoration of the candle. But as you can see, that's how easy that is to put on there. You could do other kinds of flowers for springtime. You could actually use all kinds of different kinds of punched flowers. You could use electronic cutters to cut out flowers. You could use a die cut machine, die cut some flowers. The possibilities of what you could do is endless, and you're just dipping it in to the wax, the beeswax that you can get from Ranger along with the melting pot, or you can melt it, experiment, try some other ways, but again, be very careful if you're experimenting. But quick and pretty table decor with your candles. Tip that up so you can see them there. I think this makes a really, really pretty holiday table decor. So anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for day 12 coming up tomorrow. Thanks a bunch and happy holidays.